All right, and it looks like I'm live here. So, hey everybody, it's Roberto. So, today I just wanted to talk to you guys about a couple of different things that are going on. So, as many of you know, I've been cranking out a lot of content lately. That's been a lot of fun. It's been accomplishing the goals, and I've really been doubling down on my hustle in a lot of areas. But it brings up a point, and it brings up an important question, which is, what does hustle actually mean? I talk a lot about it. I know a lot of people within social media and on the YouTube space talk about hustle. I know a lot of business people talk about it. But the thing is, most people do not have the ability to clearly define what hustle is in any kind of meaningful way. And I feel like I want to do that because a friend of mine, Matt, was telling me that he absolutely loves the way that I define it because it makes it crystal clear. And I think that that's part of the important thing. I really care about precise language. And so when people talk about hustling or hustlers or the hustle, a lot of times they mean different things. And sometimes it's a pejorative term or a negative term that has different connotations to scam artists and so on and so forth with it. But it really comes back down to sports, believe it or not. It's a sports term as far as I'm concerned, because that was the first time, the first context that I ever heard it in. Because I am a former track star. I was running track and cross country since middle school. And so this is how I view and define hustle, and how I've always viewed and defined it. Hustle is to move purposely toward a clearly defined goal with a sense of urgency. That's it. That's a very brief and very direct definition. Are you moving with intent? Are you moving purposely? Are you moving with a sense of urgency and toward a clearly defined goal? What are you really working toward? What are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to do? Where are you trying to go? And do all of your steps, do all of your actions align to things that are likely to put you there? That is the point. If you are doing things and spending the majority of your time not working toward your end game, if you're not working like every second and every day and every hour counts, because it does. Because if you have not wished for immortality, if you have not collected all 7 Dragon Balls or folded 1,000 of these paper cranes and wished for immortality, every second in your hourglass is ticking away. And if you're not spending that time working toward your goals, then, or at least the majority of your time, or at least a reasonable portion of your time working toward those goals, then you, my friend, are not hustling. And I don't say that to be mean or to be rude. I do it to give you clarity and perspective that when I take time out of my day to make these videos, I'm working toward a clearly defined goal. My goal of changing the culture of creativity and creative services and helping as many of you as possible reach your goals by demonstrating things, by giving advice, by creating that upfront value. I'm also at the same time meeting my own goals of scaling my personal brand by doing that. So the thing is, my clearly defined objectives, my 5 or 10 things that I'm trying to do, I make sure that all of my actions as often as possible can align to that in meaningful ways. I don't just wear this always be creating shirt because it looks cool and because it's cool and I like it and because I sell them in my online store. I wear these shirts so that every time I look in the mirror, I'm remembering and giving myself that mantra, that what I refer to as a mandate for execution, that I should always be creating something, that every day out of the year, 365, if I can't look back and see 365 results, then I didn't meet my demand. I didn't meet my potential. I didn't utilize my time for me personally properly if I did not create something awesome today every day. So for me, always be creating actually means something. It's not just a branding thing. It's not just a cool shirt. It's not just a sales pitch. It's not just a branding thing. It is a philosophical mandate for how to live my life and how to achieve my goals, because it tells me I have to be consistent, right? So when we're in track, there's a goal, there's a finish line, there's a number of laps we have to do. Every step brings us closer to doing that thing. It brings us closer to that finish line, to that goal, to the number of laps you have to run if you're a track star. So for us, that would mean that hustle means that I have to take the number of steps it takes to get to the end of the finish line as quickly as possible, because every second that I don't puts me a rank down, either behind that person or behind my best time. My best time in a mile run was 15:15. I was never able to get to my goal of breaking 5 minutes before I stopped running track, which means that The difference between me making that goal and not making that goal was 15 seconds. Every one of those 15 seconds could have been the time to overthink it, or not hydrating enough that day, or not taking that extra stride 1 minute quicker, 1 second quicker, whatever it was. So you have to think about, how do your goals represent the steps or the climb that it takes to reach your goal and reach your objective? What does that process look like for you? What are your day-to-day actions doing to align to the end result that you want to be at in the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? If you're saying to yourself that you want to be a novelist or a writer, are you writing pages every day that leads to the completion of that novel, or leads to the volume or the body of work in a portfolio that allows you to get the paid writing gigs to do the thing that you want to do, to be a living as a writer? If you're a photographer, are you putting in the work that takes beyond taking the photos to build out your personal brand to get the higher paid clients? If you're someone who's like, well, I can't make money, or I can't differentiate between people with cameras or smartphones, are you doing the work that makes the experience of what you're offering disproportionately more valuable to somebody, to say that, gee, I'd rather pay this person to take a picture than do it with my smartphone? They bring so much more to the table. Are you putting in that work? If you are a designer and you're watching this, as many of you are, and you're like, well, I can't get a job as a graphic designer, or I can't get freelance clients, are you executing and are you putting in the volume of work and even the throwaways that you don't put into your portfolio? Are you doing the 100 pieces of typography that it takes in a year to get to the 10 or the 20 good pieces of typography to put in your portfolio to impress that art director, or to impress that freelance client, or to impress that magazine? Are you doing the 50 executions of photo manipulations that might take to get something good, to get it printed in Photoshop Creative? You have to put in the work. Every step on a track brings you closer to the finish line. That's what we learned as runners. That's why hustling to me is about running on track and field like I did in high school, is because it takes every one of those steps. And the more urgently you take those steps, the quicker you get to that goal. And the quicker you get to that goal, the more it means in terms of, I got there, I did it, I'm done. This is my silver or gold medal. This is my record time. This is what it is. So are you taking those steps? Are you moving with a sense of urgency? And are you doing the work? Because you can't just run on the track. You have to do the work. You have to do the crunches. You have to do the leg lifts. You have to hydrate. You have to take care of your body. You have to mentally prepare to have the will in addition to the skill. I had people who literally their legs were like up to my torso or whatever in track, that I was leaving in the dust because I wanted it more. My passion and my drive to beat them was better than their physical ability to compete. Their physical ability, their raw innate talent, their DNA was not enough to overcome my willingness and my drive and my heart. And I don't say that to brag on myself. I say that to make the point to all of you who are like, well, I'm not the best, or I'm not the most talented, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. Your will trumps your skill, and your will can lead you to develop your skill faster, better, or to create some other experience. It's not always about being the best. Sometimes it's about, because the best people sometimes suck to work with in life. There are people who, despite how talented they are unemployable because the experience of working with them is a crucible, right? So you can win without being the best, without even being in the top 10 or 20%, by just being a better person than the other person, or creating a better experience, which is why I tell you guys, not just to create awesome things, but to create awesome experiences for other human beings. Being a good person, being awesome, is its own business model. I should do a post on that. Being awesome is its own business model, right? So hustle is important, but also hustle in the right way. Going all in the right thing is also super important, because despite how skillful or talented you are, or how much more will or heart you have, even if your execution is 100 times better than someone else's, if the experience isn't, then that's going to be a detractor as well. So what I want to leave you with is this. Do a real self-audit and look at yourself in the mirror, and then ask yourself, if you're working toward the things you want, one, have you clearly defined the thing that you want? Do you know what you want? And more importantly, do you know who you want to be? Do you know what you want to see when you look in the mirror? And then do your daily actions and routines and the things that you're putting your time and your money into align with that clear definition and vision of who you want to be, what your ultimate or most awesome self is. Are your actions lined up with that? And are you being consistent in those actions on a regular basis? Because your thoughts become your habits. Sorry, no, your thoughts become your actions become your habits, and your habits become your destiny. And I can tell you flat out that that is not hokey, that is not magical thinking, that is absolute truth, and that is historically accurate. And you can see it in people. You can see it in people. Just ask, just not that, don't ask because it'd be rude. Look at anyone, unfortunately, who has an addiction, and you'll see that that is in fact true. Look at anyone who is successful and see if they're not being consistent in their actions, and then ask them what they think about and what they talk about all the time, and you'll see that it all lines up. It's all very linear. It is not rocket science. It is not a secret. It is not, is the most straightforward thing there really is. You are not just the things you say, but you are the things you do and the way that you live. You absolutely are. If you look at healthy people do not just have great DNA. They have healthy habits. 9 times out of 10, they have healthy habits. Unhealthy people usually have unhealthy habits, not just bad or junk DNA or bad luck. They have unhealthy habits that put them in the situations that they are in most cases. In most cases, there are some people who just got dealt a crappy hand, and there's nothing they can really do about it. And then there are people who got dealt a crappy hand and absolutely did something about it. I know plenty of people like that did not let their DNA, their circumstances in life, their geography, their gender, the disabilities and invisible illnesses or very visible illnesses that they were born with or that happened to them in life defeat them and let them not work toward the purposeful execution of their clearly defined goals with a sense of urgency for whatever that represented for them and their capacity and what their health would allow for. They let their will and their skill be what defined them instead of geography or culture or gender or DNA. They decided who they were and what they were going to work toward becoming. And they did that on a regular basis. And that's who they are. And it's the same with me. It's the same with me. I am not better than like most of you at anything really, except possibly storytelling. And some of you probably can crush me in that. And it's more a matter of passion and heart and transparency and openness than anything else that allows me to be successful. And that's all just going 110% in on who I really am, not wearing a mask, not worrying about anything else except, am I being consistent and am I being who I really am? I mean, at the end of the day, I could probably impress a lot more people by having a more professional desktop wallpaper than this, wearing a suit and tie instead of my hat, my Kango hat, my Always Be Creating or Create Awesome shirts, anime wallpapers, and Baby Groot and paper cranes here, right? But instead of doing that and impressing people who value that, I only care about people who want to value me exactly for who I am and take my knowledge at face value and understand that I'm a real human being and a real person, and I'm not putting on a show. So that's what I would recommend you take a look at. Look at your hustle. Look at your habits. Honestly self-audit yourself and say, do my actions and the things that I'm doing align with what I keep saying I want and what's coming out of my mouth? And am I saying things that I actually want to happen, or am I preaching doom to my destiny instead? Am I talking about who I want to be and what I want to be and what I really care about? Because if you talk about it more, you'll think about it more and you'll do it. Some of you say, well, I don't want to talk about it. I just want to do it. And I want to keep my cards close to the chest. And that's crap. And I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings. It's crap. Because when you say it out of your mouth, you're accountable. When you say it out of your mouth, when I tell you guys I'm going to put out a video, I'm accountable to you. When I tell an editor that I'm going to get them an article, I'm accountable to them. So when I tell a client I'm going to give them, I'm accountable to them. So when you say it, it makes it real and it makes you accountable. Not saying it lets you off the hook. So hold yourself accountable by speaking it not only out into the universe if that's too hokey for you, but have accountability partners. Have people who hold you accountable to deliver on what you say, because then your actions will start to align to it, because you won't want to lose face, or you won't want to disappoint those people, or you won't want to feel like a hypocrite, or like your word isn't bond and things like that. So that's a big part of it. Once you start speaking things out of your mouth and holding yourself accountable, your hustle will change to align to those actions, because otherwise you're going to have the negative consequences of that, and you won't want that. So now you're forcing yourself into a positive habit of being accountable and of working harder and of delivering, right? So that's going to help you, one, have the purposeful execution and the sense of urgency, and it's going to mean that your goal was clearly defined, because you said, I am going to do this thing on Thursday. Well, now that you've said it, and now that people know, Thursday's the deadline. You've got to move with urgency. Thursday, this thing has to happen. That's clear. And now all of your actions have to serve and facilitate the purpose of Thursday at 3:30 going down. Otherwise, you suck because you didn't keep your word and you weren't accountable. So that's why you have to talk about what you're going to do. And it's not braggy. It's not you like just hokily saying things out into the universe. It is to hold you accountable and to make you hustle by making you say, this is what clearly has to happen. Now I have to move with urgency because there's a clock on it. There's a deadline to meet. And now I have to make sure that everything I'm doing facilitates this thing. If you knew that your wife or your husband or your kid has to be picked up at XYZ time, your entire day is going to be about getting everything done so that you can hop in the car, beat traffic, and be there because you don't want to let them down or leave them waiting out in the rain, right? That's accountability. That's hustle. You're purposefully getting everything you need to get done on your list so that when it's time to hop in the car at 3, you're picking them up at 3:30. That's moving with a sense of urgency. And that's moving toward a clearly defined goal of being on time. So you know deep down what hustle is. You just start having to hustle toward the right things that you want. And that's becoming the person that you want to be, achieving the dreams that you have, building the businesses that you want, the philanthropy that you want to do, or your creative endeavors of becoming, established in your industry, or your personal goals. Those things all have to just translate to what your hustle is. It means that if you want to lose those 50 pounds, great. Is your daily diet aligning to that? Are your daily habits and routines aligned to that? You want to be a great artist and you don't know how to draw? Great. Are you daily spending 10, 20, 15 minutes sketching in a notebook? Are you reading stuff on YouTube, watching stuff on YouTube, reading books about it, doing the tutorials? Are you doing that? What are you doing that's going to get you there? You can say you want to get to this place all you want. You can say that I want to get to the finish line on that track and field run. But if you don't do the run, if you don't take the steps, how are you going to get there? And if you haven't done the training and the work that says that you can run and do that 5-minute mile, or in my case, that 5:15 mile, if you haven't done the work, how can you have the expectation of getting there if you haven't done the prep and the training for what that hustle demands? And then, well, is it a mile, or is it 1.5 miles, or is it 2 miles? Make a clearly defined goal, set a finish line. So create awesome challenge, people. Clearly define a goal for the week, and one for the month, and one for this quarter, the end of the year, fourth quarter. We're in the last quarter, home stretch. Set a clearly defined goal for yourself, one that you can finish this week. I prefer to do daily goals, by the way, but that might not be for everybody. Part of my daily goals is getting a video out, right? So, and whether that's here in YouTube or in another platform, by the way, I just have a goal of daily video content regardless of platform. I usually get one on YouTube. So technically I'm getting out 2 or 3 videos a day, honestly. But my point is, you can set a daily goal, a weekly goal, a monthly goal, and set one for the end of the year this quarter. Then make sure that you have an accountability partner. Make sure that somebody, whether it's here in the comment section, or whether it's me, or whether it's your friends or your family member, make sure that you speak it out loud. Don't just put it on a piece of paper and then secretly say, well, if I didn't make it, I didn't make it. Set an accountability goal, have an accountability partner, and then make sure that you're doing the right things to be successful at the goal. Set yourself up to win. And that's all it is. That is all hustle is about, is knowing what winning looks like, taking the actions to get there, and moving with a sense of purpose and urgency. That's all it is. It's running down that track as quickly as possible so that you're better than last time, or you beat the person ahead of you, or that you just finish the race, for Christ's sakes. So don't sit in the middle of the track and say, well, a 1/2 mile is good. It's not. Go the whole mile. Go the distance. Put in the work. And be honest with yourself about what that looks like and what that requires. And if you're not going to do that, then maybe that's not for you, and you need to find what you can do that will allow you to live up to that. Maybe the thing you're doing is not the thing that you're meant to be doing, and you are being romantic, and you like, look, I thought that my thing to do was to be an animator for Disney or a comic book artist for Marvel. And that was not what I was actually supposed to be doing. And to be honest, I think if I had went down that route, I would have been miserable in hindsight, because I would have had to draw for other people and not what I wanted, and would have been slaving away at that and stifling my creativity. And that would have just made me mad and frustrated and hate art. It ultimately turned out that I was supposed to keep that for myself and do other things that I enjoy having collaborators with and things like that. But I do not want to be told what to draw. So that became something I had to be clear about with myself, figure out about my self-awareness and what my goals really should be. And then I shifted my actions in accordance with that to be successful. So you need to be honest with yourself, figure out what it is that you're supposed to be doing, and figure out in what capacity and what way you're supposed to be doing it. And then make that your hustle. Align your actions on a daily basis consistently to the purposeful execution of that goal with a sense of urgency. Because again, if you have not folded 1,000 paper cranes and wished for immortality, you got a ticking clock as to whether or not you're going to get to that goal. So my advice is to move as quickly as you can toward the thing that you care about the most, and don't look back. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was some real talk. This was something that I obviously got amped up about. A lot of you guys we've been talking about the hustle. We've been talking about it constantly ad nauseum, and I wanted to make it as clear as I could for everybody what that really means and what it looks like. And now you can take a look at what I'm doing. You can see that I'm being consistent and that I do, in fact, embody what I'm talking about when I talk about hustle. I'm sitting here grinding and producing and doing and learning and growing every day toward my goals. And I make all of you my accountability partners in that by delivering for you. So that's how it works for me. But you got to find out and figure out what that looks like for you. So anyway, like this video if you like it. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. Check out the other awesome content on the channel. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. And don't forget, create something awesome today and every day and every week and every month and every year.